What happens when a rising star's patience finally snaps during what should have been a routine morning show appearance? The cameras were rolling, millions were watching, and nobody expected the explosive confrontation that would leave viewers speechless and social media buzzing for weeks. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop your thoughts in the comments because this story will completely change how you see celebrity interviews. The studio lights blazed as Teddy Swims settled into the plush burgundy chair across from Jenna Martinez, the sharp-tongued host of Today with Jenna and Friends. His trademark beanie sat perfectly on his head, and his gentle smile suggested this would be another pleasant promotional interview. The show's signature upbeat jingle had just finished, and Jenna's co-hosts, Marcus Chen and Riley Thompson, flanked her at the curved desk, their coffee mugs steaming in the morning light. "We're back with the incredibly talented Teddy Swims," Jenna announced, her voice carrying that practiced television warmth. "Your latest single has been absolutely dominating the charts, and fans cannot get enough of your soulful voice. Tell us about this incredible journey you've been on." Teddy shifted forward, his hands clasped loosely. "Thank you for having me, Jenna. It's been surreal, honestly. The support from fans has been overwhelming in the best possible way. Music has always been my passion, and seeing people connect with these songs, it's everything I could have hoped for." Marcus jumped in with his signature grin. "Now, we have to ask about your unique style. You've got this incredible blend of soul, pop, and R&B. Where does that come from?" "Growing up, I was exposed to so many different genres," Teddy replied, his eyes lighting up. "My grandmother played Aretha Franklin and Sam Cooke. My dad was into classic rock, and I discovered hip-hop on my own. It all just naturally blended together when I started writing." Riley leaned forward, her notepad in hand. "Your rise to fame has been pretty unconventional. You started by posting covers on social media, right? That must have been nerve-wracking. Putting yourself out there like that." Teddy nodded, his expression growing more thoughtful. "Absolutely. Those first videos were terrifying to post. You're basically saying, 'Here's my soul, please don't crush it.' But the response was incredible, and it gave me the confidence to keep going, to start writing original material." Jenna's smile seemed to tighten slightly, and there was a subtle shift in her tone. "Speaking of putting yourself out there, let's talk about some of the criticism you've faced. There have been comments about your appearance, people saying you don't look like a typical pop star. How do you handle that kind of negativity?" The question hung in the air like a cloud, and Teddy's relaxed posture stiffened, almost imperceptibly. "I think authenticity resonates with people more than fitting into a specific mold. Music should be about the message and the emotion, not about meeting someone else's expectations of what an artist should look like. But surely you understand that image plays a huge role in the music industry," Jenna pressed, her journalist instincts taking over. "Don't you think there's a responsibility to present yourself in a way that's, let's say, more marketable?" Marcus glanced at Jenna with a slight frown, sensing the conversation taking an uncomfortable turn. Riley's pen had stopped moving, and she was watching Teddy's face carefully. Teddy took a slow breath, his jaw tightening just enough to be noticeable. "I think the responsibility is to be genuine. When I perform, when I write, when I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm being exactly who I am. If that's not marketable enough for some people, then maybe they're not my audience." "That's a very noble stance," Jenna said, but her tone carried a hint of condescension. "Though some industry insiders have suggested that your team has been working hard to rebrand you, to make you more palatable to mainstream audiences, is there truth to that?" The studio fell silent except for the hum of cameras and equipment. Teddy's hands, which had been relaxed, now gripped the arms of his chair. "I'm sorry, what exactly are you implying?" Jenna's smile never wavered, but her eyes had taken on a predatory gleam. "I'm not implying anything, I'm asking directly. Have you been pressured to change aspects of your appearance or persona to appeal to a broader market?" "My team supports my vision," Teddy replied, his voice steady but carrying an edge that hadn't been there moments before. "Everything I do comes from an authentic place. I'm not a manufactured product." "Of course not," Jenna said quickly, though her tone suggested otherwise. "But let's be honest about the business side of things. Your record label has invested significant money in your career. They must have some input on your image, your sound, your public appearances." Riley cleared her throat softly. "Maybe we should talk about the upcoming tour," she suggested, clearly trying to steer the conversation back to safer ground. But Jenna wasn't finished. "Actually, let's stay on this topic for a moment. Teddy, there have been some interesting rumors about your personal life. Care to address those?" The question hit like a lightning bolt. Teddy's entire demeanor changed, his shoulders squaring and his eyes narrowing. "What rumors?" "Well, there's been speculation about your relationships, your lifestyle choices. Some people are questioning whether the wholesome image you project is really authentic, or if it's all part of a carefully crafted persona." Marcus shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Jenna, maybe we should know." "It's fine," Teddy interrupted, his voice low and controlled. "I'd like to know exactly what you're talking about, Jenna. What specific rumors are you referring to? Jenna leaned back slightly, realizing she might have pushed too far, but unable to resist continuing. I think you know what I'm talking about. There have been whispers about certain habits, certain people you've been seen with. I'm just giving you the opportunity to set the record straight. The temperature in the studio seemed to drop 10 degrees. Teddy stared at Jenna for a long moment, his breathing visible and controlled. When he spoke, his voice was quiet but carried a weight that made everyone lean in. Let me be very clear about something, Jenna. My personal life is exactly that. Personal. I came here to talk about my music, to connect with fans who support what I do. I didn't come here to be ambushed with gossip and innuendo. I'm just doing my job, Jenna replied, but her confidence was beginning to waver. Our viewers want to know who you really are. No, Teddy said, his voice rising slightly. You're trying to create drama where none exists. You're fishing for a scandal because you think it'll get you more views, more clicks, more engagement, but you're messing with a real person's life and reputation. The confrontation was building to something explosive, and every person in that studio could feel it. Riley quickly grabbed her water bottle, her hands visibly shaking as she tried to diffuse the mounting tension. Teddy, your fans absolutely love how genuine you are. That's what makes your music so special. But Jenna wasn't backing down. She straightened in her chair, her media training kicking in as she sensed a moment that could define her career. Teddy, I understand you're upset, but transparency is important. Your fans deserve to know who they're supporting. There have been some concerning reports about your behavior at industry events. Teddy's laugh was sharp and humorless. Concerning reports? Are you serious right now? What exactly are you accusing me of? I'm not accusing you of anything, Jenna replied, though her tone suggested otherwise. I'm simply asking for clarification. There was an incident at a label party last month where witnesses say you were involved in some kind of altercation. Marcus finally found his voice, his usual cheerful demeanor replaced by obvious discomfort. Jenna, maybe we should focus on the positive aspects of Teddy's career. It's okay, Marcus, Teddy said, his eyes never leaving Jenna's face. I want to hear exactly what she thinks she knows. Tell me about this alleged altercation. Jenna, paint me the picture. Jenna's producer was frantically gesturing from behind the cameras, but she ignored him completely. According to sources, you became aggressive with a photographer who was trying to take your picture. Security had to intervene. Security had to intervene, Teddy repeated slowly, his voice dripping with disbelief. In these sources, did they happen to mention that the photographer was harassing a young artist who was clearly uncomfortable? Did they mention that he was taking pictures up her dress without her consent? The studio fell dead silent. Even the camera operators seemed to hold their breath. Jenna's confident facade cracked slightly. That's not what I was told. Of course it's not, Teddy said, his voice rising with controlled anger. Because that doesn't fit your narrative, does it? It's much better for your ratings if I'm the unstable artist who can't handle fame, right? Much more interesting than the truth, which is that I stood up for someone who couldn't stand up for herself. Riley tried once more to salvage the interview. Teddy, your upcoming tour is going to be incredible. Can you tell us about some of the special guests you'll have? But Teddy was locked onto Jenna now, his entire focus on the woman who had just tried to assassinate his character on live television. No, Riley, I think we need to finish this conversation first. Jenna here seems to have done quite a bit of research on me. I'm curious what other stories she's prepared to share. Jenna's hands fidgeted with her note cards. I'm just trying to give you a platform to address these rumors, by ambushing me with lies and half-truths. By creating rumors where none existed before. You didn't invite me here to promote my music, did you? You invited me here to try and tear me down on live television. That's not true, Jenna protested, but her voice lacked conviction. Isn't it? Teddy leaned forward, his intensity filling the space between them. When was the last time you had an artist on this show and spent the entire interview trying to destroy their reputation? When was the last time you cared more about creating controversy than celebrating someone's art? Marcus was now openly staring at Jenna with disapproval. Riley had set down her notepad entirely and was watching the train wreck unfold with horrified fascination. I asked tough questions, Jenna said defensively. That's what journalism is. Journalism. Teddy's voice cracked with incredulous laughter. Is that what you call spreading unsubstantiated gossip and trying to humiliate your guests? Because where I come from, we call that something else entirely. The producer behind the cameras was making slashing motions across his throat, signaling for a commercial break, but Jenna waved him off. She had committed to this path and seemed determined to see it through. Our viewers have a right to know about the people they're supporting, Jenna insisted. Celebrity comes with responsibility. You're absolutely right, Teddy said, his voice suddenly calm in a way that was somehow more unsettling than his anger. Celebrity does come with responsibility, and my responsibility is to my fans, to my music, and to being honest about who I am. Your responsibility, as a journalist, should be to report facts, not spread malicious gossip designed to hurt people. I report what people want to know, Jenna shot back. No, you create drama, because drama sells. You tear people down because building them up doesn't get you trending on social media. You've turned what should have been a celebration of music into a character assassination attempt. And you're doing it with a smile on your face. Riley made one last desperate attempt to save the interview. Teddy, your voice is just incredible. Can you tell us about your vocal training? But Teddy stood up abruptly, the microphone pack on his belt catching everyone by surprise. You know what, Riley? My voice is fine. My music speaks for itself, and anyone who wants to know who I really am can listen to my songs, come to my shows, and judge for themselves. He began unhooking his microphone, his movements deliberate and controlled. I don't need to sit here and defend myself against fabricated controversies and gossip, masquerading as journalism. Jenna's eyes widened as she realized the interview was slipping away from her completely. Teddy, please sit down. Let's talk about this like adults. Like adults? Teddy paused in removing his microphone and stared at her. Adults don't ambush people with lies and call it journalism. Adults don't try to destroy someone's reputation for the sake of entertainment. Adults take responsibility for their actions. I'm just doing my job, Jenna repeated weakly. If this is your job, then maybe you need to find a new one, Teddy replied, his voice carrying a finality that made everyone in the studio realize this interview was over. Because what you're doing isn't journalism, it's not entertainment, and it's certainly not worthy of the platform you've been given. Marcus and Riley sat in stunned silence as Teddy fully removed his microphone and set it carefully on the side table. The cameras continued rolling, capturing every moment of the unprecedented meltdown happening live on morning television. I came here to share my music with people who might enjoy it. Teddy continued, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. I came here to connect with fans and maybe brighten someone's morning. Instead, I've been treated like a criminal being, interrogated for crimes I didn't commit. Jenna made one final attempt to regain control. Teddy, if you could just sit back down, we can start over. But Teddy was already walking toward the edge of the set. His decision made and his dignity intact despite everything that had just transpired. Teddy turned back one final time, his eyes sweeping across the three hosts who sat frozen at their desk. You know what the real tragedy is here? I actually believed this show was different. I thought you genuinely cared about artists and their stories. But you're just like every other program looking for your viral moment, aren't you? The silence stretched on for what felt like an eternity. Camera operators exchanged glances, unsure whether to keep filming or cut away. The producer stood paralyzed, behind his monitors, watching his carefully planned show dissolve into chaos. Marcus finally broke the silence, his voice barely above a whisper. Teddy, we do care. This isn't what we wanted. Then why didn't you stop it? Teddy asked, his question cutting through the studio like a blade. Why did you sit there and watch her try to destroy me? Why didn't either of you speak up when she started throwing around accusations without evidence? Riley's voice was shaky when she responded. We should have. You're right. This got completely out of hand. Jenna, however, wasn't ready to concede defeat. Her journalist instincts kicked in one last time, even as her career potentially crumbled around her. Teddy, you're overreacting. I asked legitimate questions that our audience wants answered. Teddy stopped walking and slowly turned around, his expression shifting from anger to something that looked almost like pity. Legitimate questions. Jenna, listen to yourself. You just spent 20 minutes trying to paint me as some kind of unstable person based on rumors and gossip. You took a situation where I defended someone from harassment and tried to spin it into evidence of aggressive behavior. The public has a right to know, Jenna insisted, though her voice lacked the conviction it had carried earlier. The public has a right to know about my music, about my tour, about the things I'm actually here to discuss. They don't have a right to make up stories about my personal life. They don't have a right to watch you try to humiliate me for entertainment. Marcus stood up from his chair, an unprecedented move during a live broadcast. Teddy, on behalf of the show, I want to apologize. This isn't how we normally conduct interviews, and it's not reflective of our values. Your values. Teddy's laugh was bitter. Marcus, you seem like a decent person, but where were your values 15 minutes ago? Where were they when she started this interrogation? Riley was now visibly emotional, tears threatening to spill over. We should have stopped it. We should have protected you. That's what co-hosts are supposed to do. Support each other and support our guests. You're both complicit, Teddy said, but his tone toward Marcus and Riley was softer than the harsh words he'd reserved for Jenna. Maybe not intentionally, but your silence made you part of this. When you watch someone get attacked and do nothing, you become part of the attack. Jenna made one final desperate attempt to salvage something from the wreckage. This is live television. Teddy, things get heated sometimes. Can't we just move past this and talk about your music? The question hung in the air like smoke from a fire that had already burned everything down. Teddy stared at her for a long moment, his expression cycling through disbelief, anger, and finally, resignation. Move past this, he repeated slowly. Jenna, you just spent the better part of a half hour trying to destroy my reputation on live television. You spread lies, you made accusations, you turned what should have been a celebration into an assassination attempt, and now you want to just move past it and talk about my music. People make mistakes, Jenna said weakly. Mistakes. Teddy's voice rose one final time. A mistake is mispronouncing someone's name or getting a song title wrong. What you did was deliberate, calculated, and malicious. You came into this interview with an agenda, and that agenda had nothing to do with music and everything to do with tearing me down. The studio crew had stopped pretending to work. Everyone was watching the unprecedented meltdown of what had been one of morning television's most popular shows. Cameras continued rolling, capturing every moment of television history in the making. I have spent years building my career on authenticity, on genuine connection with my fans, on music that comes from the heart, Teddy continued, his voice carrying the weight of someone who had been profoundly betrayed. In 30 minutes, you tried to tear all of that down with gossip and lies, and you did it with a smile on your face. He walked toward the edge of the set again, then paused and looked back at the camera. To anyone watching this who actually cares about music, who supports artists trying to make genuine art, thank you. Your support means everything, and it's what makes all of this worthwhile. Don't let people like this convince you that drama is more important than authenticity. Teddy, please, Jenna called out desperately. But Teddy was done. He looked directly into the main camera, his voice clear and strong, despite everything that had just happened. My music will speak for itself. My actions will speak for themselves. And this, he gestured around the studio, this will speak for itself too. With that, he walked off the set, leaving behind a studio in complete chaos. Marcus sat back down heavily, his head in his hands. Riley was openly crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. Jenna sat frozen, staring at the empty chair where her career had just imploded. The producer finally found his voice and called for a commercial break, but the damage was already done. Social media was exploding, clips were being shared, and the entertainment world was buzzing with the news that Teddy Swims had just delivered one of the most devastating takedowns in live television history. Marcus looked at Jenna with a mixture of disappointment and anger. What were you thinking? That wasn't journalism, that was character assassination. Riley wiped her eyes and stared at her co-host. How could you do that to him? He's a good person, and you tried to destroy him for ratings. But Jenna had no answers left. She sat in silence as the reality of what she had done began to sink in. The interview that was supposed to boost the show's ratings had instead become a masterclass in how not to treat guests, and how quickly a career can end when you choose sensationalism over integrity. The story of Teddy Swims walking off the Today with Jenna and Friends show became legendary not just for his powerful defense of his character, but for the way he maintained his dignity while calling out the toxic culture that prioritizes drama over truth. It became a defining moment that reminded everyone watching that authenticity and integrity should never be sacrificed for entertainment value. What did you think of this incredible confrontation? Was Teddy right to walk off, or should he have stayed to defend himself further? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe for more unbelievable celebrity stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat.